In the heat of battle, a single moment may fill an eternity. And in the blink of an eye, an eternity passes, and the battle is won or lost.
What's up guys, Lifting here. Buckle up, because it's about to get wild. With the new league just around the corner, not to mention tons of balance changes, there is a lot of new Path of Exile builds for us to try out, or old ones to revisit. In this video I'm going to present 5 builds, all great league starters, for you to get inspired by. Since I made the choice to stream less and focus more on YouTube, it also means you can expect this type of video once every week on my channel. If that is something you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon to be notified of new video releases. Also, a big shout out to my patrons. Despite the revenue loss from streaming less, you guys are making it possible. Thank you very much, you are great. If any of you guys wish to support ongoing videos, then please visit patreon.com/liftingnerdbro. Thank you.
Let's get into it.
Build number 1 on the list is actually 2 builds, but by different authors. They both use Cyclone, and for anyone who's been reading the patch notes or keeping up on the latest updates, this probably doesn't come as a big surprise. Cyclone has gotten a massive revamp in the latest patch. Instead of being a regular attack skill, it is now considered a channeling skill with 6 different stages. For each stage, the skill gains an additional melee range, and due to the new and low mana cost, sustaining it should be rather easy. Cyclone now also benefits from receiving a large chunk of flat physical damage per level of the skill, making it less weapon dependent than previously. Although the weapon is of course still going to be the main way of scaling the skill in the long run. The reason I'm going to present 2 builds in the first build suggestion is because both builds do it slightly differently, and based on that you can figure out which makes the most sense to you. It's important to note that no one at this point in time has any practical experience with the new Cyclone skill, and it is thus a work in progress for any of the build creators at this moment to figure out how to optimally design their build around the new skill balance. So keep an eye on their guides, as they might develop as the league goes on. However, the guides that I'm featuring here already seem to have a pretty good grasp on it. So the first of the Cyclone builds I want to present is by Athak, and it is a pure physical based duelist build using the Slayer Ascendancy. And while the Slayer has received a significant rework too, Athak's build at this point in time seems to stick to the tried and true approach with Headsman, Bane of Legends, Endless Hunger and Brutal Fervor. Which makes complete sense, as these, despite a few changes, remain solid Ascendancy picks for this type of build. Of noteworthy gear, the build features items such as Devoto's Devotion for that nice attack and movement speed, Akoum's Heart for a massive boost to health, Dereso's Salute for an impressive 2+ to weapon range attacks, and either a Starforge or an Atziri's Disfavor, with both being incredibly powerful weapons for endgame. Before we continue, I need to make it clear that when I showcase gear for these starter builds, then despite some of them obviously being expensive, that doesn't mean you are expected to be able to afford these items from the get-go. Starter builds can have expensive gear suggestions, but they aren't strictly limited to them. Meaning you can use much cheaper gear as you progress your character, and then as you farm you can save up and then eventually buy them. Athak's Cyclone guide has been a staple in the community for a long time, and despite us not knowing everything about Cyclone in its current form yet, I feel confident in recommending this build version to you. The second Cyclone build I want to present to you is by Murray, and similar to Athak's build, it's also a Slayer, but instead of focusing on physical damage, this build instead scales cold damage, which comes with the added benefit of being able to freeze enemies. At its core, the build is designed around the Rimsorrow and later the upgraded Rimburn gloves, that together with the Winter Spirit Notable is going to convert 90% of all physical damage into cold damage, and thus allow you to scale the build in that manner. Staying true to the nature of the Slayer, the build also stick to using two-handed weapons, and like Athak's build also aims to use Devoto's Devotion and the Atziri's Disfavor Axe. But instead of Akoum's Heart, Murray use a Carcass Jack for
more damage
and additional area of effects. Both Cyclone builds I present here can deal with the toughest content the game has to offer, but to my knowledge, Murray haven't gotten around to try his build against Uber Elder yet. And that's not to say it cannot do it, I'm simply stating it for the sake of transparency. They're both great choices for anyone wanting to play a Cyclone build. Build number 2 on the list, or technically 3 I guess, is by Everyday Engineering, and hold on to your hats ladies and gentlemen, because this is a build that primarily uses Orb of Storms as its main skill, and it actually performs very well. Everyday Engineering showed this build to me a couple of weeks ago, and I was impressed by how well it was performing with such little investment required, so I made the suggestion for him to write an actual build guide, and then I would feature his build in this video. With this setup, you can level fast and on a complete budget, and you can take it all the way into endgame. The build is designed around the Trickster to create a solid form of defense via Mind Over Matter, evasion, and amazing recovery potential through the Ghost Dane's Ascendancy. So the build, despite being relatively low on health, manages to solve that issue with these other mechanics. That said, if you were to play this in hardcore, you'd probably want to make a few adjustments and get some more life. Just a fair warning. Of noteworthy gear, the build used the Mind of the Council helmet to help sustain incoming damage from draining your mana pool, and either the Eternity Shroud, Cloak of Defiance, or the Carcass Jack chest armors, each with their own different benefits, with an obvious defensive bonus from the Cloak of Defiance and a big area of effect and damage boost from Carcass Jack. This is the type of build to play if you want something that is completely off meta, where you won't have to worry about that influencing the cost of relevant items down the road. Also, when your friends or mom asks you which build you're playing, you can look forward to seeing this face. Coming up third on the list is a Frostblades build by Reloads. Frostblades is one of my favorite melee skills, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it getting a buff for the coming league. It now gains a nice chunk of flat, cold damage per level of the gem, making it easier to level with and less dependent on the weapon itself. This Frostblade build is played as the Shadow, spec'd into the Assassin Ascendancy role. This opens up for easy and powerful critical chains and damage scaling, which on top adds additional value to the cold damage you apply via Frostblades by allowing it to freeze enemies when you crit. Now, Frostblades has never been a tier 1 single target skill. Where it really shines is in its map clearing potential. With the Frostblade projectiles being able to chain off enemies, it indirectly, as it gains further levels, achieves the potential to cover a rather large area per attack. To further capitalize from that mechanic, the build is designed around dual wielding the Touch of Anguish claws. With these, your skills can chain an additional time while at maximum frenzy charges, and since you're using 2 of these, you can count that double. It is by no means a revolutionary approach, but it is a solid way of building around Frostblades. And while I did say that the skill isn't considered a tier 1 single target skill, it is by no means terrible either, and with recent buffs I don't see you running into any trouble as long as you keep your gear up to date. With the right gear, even Uber Elder should become a possibility if you know how to tackle the fight. But there are of course skills better suited specifically for that type of content. Until then, you can enjoy having blazing fast clear speed with a skill that I personally find very enjoyable to use, probably due to the constant sounds of enemies shattering from your attacks. It is very satisfying. The fourth build on this week's list is a Soulrend Trickster by Zareth. In the previous league, Soulrend was amongst the most used skills, and for good reason. It has great clear speed potential and can take on any boss in the game. Soulrend is a chaos damage projectile based skill that deals damage on hit and then applies a powerful dot to take down enemies in its path. With this build, besides Soulrend, you also have the possibility of adding Bane, another chaos damage based skill, to your setup. With this, you further add to the single target potential of the build, and the 2 skills combined make up for a very relaxed and enjoyable playstyle. And now it's no secret that parts of this build recently got nerfed, but to be fair, it would be ridiculous not to. Despite the nerfs, this setup is still more than capable of taking on any content in the game, and it remains a very powerful build in the current state of the game. Of noteworthy items, the build uses the Apip's Supremacy Shield for a solid flat bonus to chaos damage and faster start of energy shield recharge, the Witchfire Brew Step Knight Flask to apply the Despair Curse and to further increase your damage, And then the Dream Fragments ring to prevent you from getting frozen and to help sustain a useful mana pool. The fifth and final build on today's list is an Incinerate cast while channeling Volatile Dead Chieftain by Cellstorm, or Celltank as he goes by on Twitch. I've featured this build before, but it's gotten so much good feedback that I wanted to showcase it again. With this build, Celltank won a Demigod prize pack in one of the previous flashback races, and I have played a variant of the build myself, and it just works great once you get it rolling. The build is designed around the idea of solo self-found, and that obviously means that it doesn't require any hard to get or too specific unique items to function, which is one of the most important factors for a good League starter. With this build, when you channel your Incinerate skill, it then goes off to activate the cast while channeling support gem, which then goes on to proc the Volatile Dead skill. Incinerate will blast your enemies with fire to their face, and Volatile Dead will spawn these molten balls from corpses left behind from Incinerate. The balls have a type of heat-seeking targeting behavior, and they deal a massive amount of damage. The build is also incredibly tanky, and it can handle almost anything you throw at it, and it does it with relative ease. It certainly also fits that off-meta category, and if you enjoyed your friends or mom's reaction face you got from telling them about the Orb of Storms build, then just wait until you tell them that once you're done with that build, then you're going with this build. Alright guys, you knew this was coming. The bonus build, or actually bonus builds. The first of which is a classic Spectre Summoner by Angry Roleplayer. Now this guy has put up a lot of build guides in recent time, and he has done a great job at it too. His Summoner build here is played as the Witch spec'd into the Necromancer Ascendancy for some powerful bonuses to minion health, damage and utilities. As this type of summoner, you'll be raising specters as your main type of minion. There are several different viable options for these, but generally speaking, Angry Roleplayer prefers using Solar Guards. These shoot out projectiles and can potentially cover a huge area of effect, and they have decent single target damage too. However, in order to further boost the single target potential of this summoner, skeletons are also incorporated into the build. If you prefer, he even has another summoner build guide purely dedicated to Scalemancy too, which basically means a build that only relies on these particular types of minions. Of noteworthy gear, this build features the Vis Mortis body armor, as this will allow you to raise an additional Spectre at the cost of a reduction to minion life. But since Spectres are so powerful, this often is a worthy trade-off. Angry Summoner can pretty much do any of the content in the game, so if summoners are your thing, then give it a try. The other bonus build I wish to present to you is a Groundslam Scion by Night Codex. I thought I'd feature this build due to the recent buffs to Groundslam. Similar to both Cyclone and Frostblades that I talked about earlier in this video, Groundslam is now also less weapon dependent, as it has received a big buff to flat physical damage per gem level. Furthermore, gem quality now not only increases its stun capabilities, but also its area of effect, and we like that, right? As designed, the build combines the Slayer and Berserker ascendancies for a significant damage boost, the ability to generate Rage, Life and Mana Leech, Calling Strike, Physical Damage Reflect Immunity, and even more area of effect. But you will also take 5% more damage. So that's the thing. Night Codex's version of a Groundslam build is definitely an interesting take on this type of build, and since both Ascendancy classes were buffed recently too, I thought it worth showcasing to you guys. The build features items such as the Soul Taker Axe, Carnage Heart, Amulet, Belt of the Deceiver, and others that I don't feel mentioning right now. With Groundslam having a Vault skill counterpart, you will also be able to charge it up to unleash damage, not just in a cone in front of you like the normal Groundslam does, but in an area all around your character, opening up for even greater area coverage and damage with the skill. And that, my friends, were the builds I wanted to present to you this week. Make sure to check back next week for a new video where I present yet another 5 builds for you to get inspired by. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you wish to contribute your support to ongoing future content, then consider visiting my Patreon page. Also, if you want to take your chillaxation to the next level, consider listening to an audiobook while you grind out some maps in Path of Exile. It's my own personal favorite way to unwind after a long day. You can get a free audiobook of your liking from Audible by clicking my Amazon link below. This will sign you up for a 30-day trial. If you cancel before the trial runs out, you won't ever have to pay a thing, and you get to keep the audiobook you picked for free for as long as you wish. And there are lots to choose from. Thank you all for your kind support. I'm lucky to be able to do what I do, surrounded by people like you. And bros, do you even nerd?